Welcome, everyone, to the regular meeting of the Jersey Village City Council for Monday, January 17th, 2022. The time is currently 7:02 p.m., and we'll call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum present?
Yes.
Great, thank you. And I don't know, is Pastor Moore here? No, okay. All right, so then that brings us to Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance by Stephanie Otto.
Please uncover. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Guide our hearts and our mind in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please cover.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. That brings us to item C, presentations. We have a presentation of Police Department Employee of the Fourth Quarter and the 2021 Employee of the Year Award by Stephanie Otto, Commander of the Jeremy E. Ray, American Legion Post 324.
Thank you. Each quarter, the American Legion Post 324, Jersey Village Police Department Employee of the Quarter Selection Committee meet to review a list of candidates selected by their peers. This is in no way a simple task, as all employees of the department are outstanding individuals that serve a purpose greater than themselves. For the first quarter of 2021, the American Legion selection for Officer of the Quarter is Corporal Ashley Walker. Corporal Walker has shown a high level of professionalism, dedication, and productivity. She loves her job, and her work shows it. We thank you for your service and dedication to the department and our community. All these attributes work together to ensure the Jersey Village Police Department works smoothly and provides our residents peace of mind and makes Jersey Village a destination community. Other officers nominated this quarter were Officer Garcia, Officer Gonzalez, Officer Polster, Officer Mong, Officer Brandon, Officer Keel, Officer Paz, and Officer Wells. Thank you for your continued performance and your dedication to our community. Okay, one more. Throughout the year, this committee receives countless nominations from within the police department, in which fellow officers highlight their peers for many reasons. Each quarter we convene and discuss each nominee and what makes that employee a standout, makes an employee a standout from another. All of these nominations are great nominations, and it is truly humbling to read and discuss each of them. All the employees of the Jersey Village Police Department serve a position that comes with so much weight, and our utmost respect and appreciation is extended to them as well. Employee of the Year, and it is a selection from the 4 employees of the quarter from that year. With this nomination, we consider each position served, each performance of that position, and the impact made by the employee within the department, the city, and ultimately the residents and businesses within the community. With that said, the American Legion Jersey Village Police Department, or Police Employee of the Year selection for 2021 is Officer Miguel Torres. Thank you for all you have done for our department and the city. Thank you.
Thank you once again, and congratulations to those officers. That brings us to citizens' comments. Citizens who have signed a card and wish to speak to the City Council will be heard at this time in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Unless the subject matter on the comment is on the agenda, the city staff and City Council members are prevented from discussing the subject and may respond only with statements of factual information or existing policy. Citizens are limited to 5 minutes for their comments to the City Council. First up, we have a special guest, State Representative Lacey Hall.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lacey Hull, State Representative for House District 138. With redistricting, Jersey Village got put into House District 138, so I wanted to come by and introduce myself. Though technically it doesn't take effect until January of 23, I want to make sure that everyone knows that you can reach out to myself and my office, and we can help with anything that you need. State agencies, just reach out, and I can give you those phone numbers. For the Capitol, it's 512-463-0727. The district office is 713-647-0042. So please reach out with any questions that you have. Happy to help, and I'm very excited to represent Jersey Village. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Representative Hall. I just wanted to say we had a quick chance to meet before the meeting with all of the council, and it was a great conversation. We were very glad that she asked to come and speak with us, and so I am confident that if anybody has any issues or has any needs, that they'll be able to reach out to her office and she can help out. The next public comment card I have is from Jim Fields.
Hello, my name is Jim Fields. I live at 16413 St. Helier. I want to thank Mayor and City Council for allowing me to participate in tonight's meeting. First thing I want to do is say thanks. I want to thank the Mayor and City Council on working on alternate solutions for the golf clubhouse. I was very, very impressed. And you guys are actually working hard to get the biggest bang for the buck. Appreciate that. Also, I want to give kudos to City Secretary and City Manager. Anytime I ask them any questions, both of them reply always promptly and quickly with exactly the answer I need. And thank you, City Manager. Thank you, City Secretary. Moving on, citizen participation, Mayor and City Council, I was thinking there's not many people that participate. And I was thinking of ways that we could help more people contribute to the meetings, because I think more information the best for all of us. And one is to allow, when we do have people speaking and they speak more than 5 minutes, rather than say, "Yep, it's 5 minutes up," maybe we should ask and say, how much more time do you need? And just another funny thing I found, you do realize if you speak in a foreign language, they give you 10 minutes. Odd. Anyway, another thing, Mayor, in the workshop I was lectured in public. I understood where you're coming from, but I didn't think that was the best way to address a person's questioning in a workshop. And that wasn't what I was trying to say, and I didn't have a chance for a rebuttal. So anyway, moving on. Fire Department. I support the fire chief's request for more fire personnel. However, to fund these positions, we should look at eliminating non-essential employees like the Recreation Department. Obviously, lives are more than playing pickleball over here at the tennis court. Also, the question, once the grant monies have been used, what will be the financial impact on the citizens? I was hoping it'd be in tonight's packet, but I didn't see it anywhere. Maybe it was. Also, would it be better to let Cy-Fair Fire Department provide the service? If so, what are the pros and cons? I'm not saying to do it, but I think it should be discussed. Other one is code enforcement. We need to force all the code to help beautify our city, which in turn will help property values and add revenues for the city. That's a win-win for everybody. Plus, we rely on our citizens to serve as government officials, and we should attempt only to draw the best. Things I noticed that weren't enforced, and maybe this is just today: a huge tow truck on Jersey Drive, company vans, actually another tow truck on Lakeview. Junk cars are still here. We're talking about not a couple of months, years, RVs, etc. Looking at last month's code enforcement report, 80% of them were signs. So we're paying a code enforcement officer, I don't know how much money, say $50,000 a year to pick up signs. Well, pay me $100 a month and I'll pick up all the signs. Development. The city should not be involved in any funded development. This is a very risky business, as everybody knows development is. And taxpayers should not be held liable for any bad decisions made by politicians. One example of government involvement by the city of Houston was Mercado del Sol. If you don't remember that one, I think it was Kathy Whitmire. It was an $8 million bust. One last thing is I want to, and this is Councilman Singleton, we have rules for committee when members that, they don't show up and can't. And I do appreciate what you do as a fire arsonist inspector. However, as an elected official, in my opinion, your priority should be representing the citizens. And I know you're doing both, but if you can't do both, I suggest you step down as city councilman. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate.
Thank you, Jim. The next card I have is from James McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, my name is James McDonald, and I live at 16306 Acapulco. My first order of business is to congratulate Councilman Wasson on successfully completing another Houston Full Marathon. I know it was all the training sessions we did with the Synod Avenue Brewery Run Club on Tuesdays at 7 at the Synod Avenue Brewery on Synod Avenue that helped you get across the finish line. And since this is not on the agenda for the meeting and you can't answer, I'll ask a rhetorical question. Do you enjoy punishments? Between running the marathon and doing this thankless job of city council, I'm concerned for your well-being. But honestly, great job. The whole Citizen Appreciation Committee is proud of you. Next on the agenda is Citizen of the Month for January. This month, we give out our award to a group of citizens. The Parks and Rec Committee is one of the unsung heroes of the greatness of JV. This group of 7 or 11-ish people, along with the Parks and Rec Department, have done an absolutely wonderful job hosting several events in the past couple of years. Not only does this committee volunteer their time each month to plan events, they often will also volunteer at these events themselves. Without these individuals, we wouldn't have gotten Santa to visit, a snowstorm to come on a warm, sunny day, or any of the parades that have been really awesome for the city. There are some really fun events coming up for 2022, including a very promising Founders Day. Please thank these volunteers and consider helping by signing up to volunteer for an upcoming event. Oh, I'm not sure how this committee will be able to split the apple fritter and coffee evenly, but that's their problem. Lastly is something my oldest son has been begging me to speak on for months. He and I have a desire to start a community garden. He has these grand plans, which include a fish pond with fish poop. I don't know. It's a 9-year-old thing. For this garden to be a place where we can make use of land that cannot be built on, a place to gather food for those who don't have enough, and I quote from a 9-year-old boy with a public education, make Jersey Village brighter. That last reason is up for interpretation. He spoke about this with the Parks and Rec Committee 2 months ago and would like to keep the conversation growing. You're welcome, that was a good pun. So that we can all start to see plants this summer. I hope the city council members can be a strong-handed force on Austin and Robert. Oh, Robert's not here, dang it. To make this happen. As I conclude, I would like to end with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that I think could apply to a lot of situations we are facing here in the city. And I quote, "Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a permanent attitude." I hope that everyone that hears this can make an honest assessment of their lives and give a little more forgiveness to those who they feel that have wronged them, With that said, I forgive you, Councilmember James Singleton, for making me Short James. Thank you.
Thank you, James. The next card I have is from Mark Malloy.
Hi, my name's Mark Malloy. I live at 7803 Hamilton Circle, past city council member for the city of Jersey Village, Texas. Citizens' comments for the 07/17/2022 council meeting. Please make my verbal comments and documents given to the city secretary a permanent record of this meeting. The first thing I want to talk about is the way that the city is doing the information for the golf course finances. And what I'm asking is, I'm looking at the golf course fund balance, and the balance has stayed the same at $4,584,626.75. And I went back to 04 of last year and looked at that, and it stayed the same all the way up until the month 10/31/2021, where it changed and it went to $7,781,890.12. And then the next month, even though the ending fund balance for 10/31/2021 was $4,768,505.84, and the reason that happens is they take and they have the revenue versus expenses, and that should adjust to the ending fund balance. And then when it gets to 11/30/2021, it goes to the beginning balance is $4,802,280.12. And then at the ending balance of that information, it was $4,390,961.22, but then that was the ending balance, and then the next month, the balance all of a sudden becomes, the beginning balance becomes $4,659,318.75. So basically, I'm just trying to figure out how that is being adjusted from month to month. The next thing that I want to talk about is that basically I and other citizens are looking into hiring an independent auditor and, if need be, an attorney to go over all of the JV city financial records starting from the year the Jersey Village government made the decision to purchase the golf course in the budget year 1999-2000, to get a complete, unbiased accounting of all city funds that have been spent on the golf course that was purchased without the JV taxpayers' authorization. The Jersey Village government accomplished this purchase with the use of certificates of obligations to bypass the taxpayers being allowed to make the decision. Now I want to talk about TERS 2. The city government created a TERS 2 in the year 2017, and that set the base property tax value for that TERS. The TERS 2 has been in existence for 4 years and has not collected any revenue for the TERS 2 because the property values in the TERS have not increased in value over the base rate. The city also has purchased 33.9 acres of land within the TERS, which is now not bringing in any tax revenue to the city. And the last thing that I want to talk about is when you guys had this meeting at 1 o'clock on the 7th when most of the citizens are at work, I came to the Civic Center and got to here 10 minutes before 1, and there was no one in the Civic Center. So I went over to the bathrooms and I heard some discussion or voices.
Mark, that's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next card I have is from Eric Anow.
Erica Now, 15601 Singapore Lane. First up, thank you to the City Council and the Mayor. Y'all are doing great work. I really appreciate your service. I know how hard it is. Excuse me. Thank you, Harry, over at Public Works, for the street work you did. Congrats to Drew Wasson for the completing of the Houston Marathon. As a fellow runner and as someone who's also run the marathon in years past 5 times, it's always a completion. Congratulations. I didn't get a real long chance to look over the agenda, but there's one item that I saw, and it's only one item. It's about the addition, giving the permission to add, I think, 6 new fire people for the fire department. Having been here at every city council that I can make, there was that other person who had mentioned about a specific fire incident and talking about lack of volunteers and pleading and making a case of having a fire person, more staff, paid staff, not volunteer staff. I want to congratulate you. I think this is the absolute best appropriate method and way of moving forward, and I fully endorse the expense of this cost. And I know it'll be with a fund through FEMA, and that's great, but I fully support the decision to move forward with that. It is these things that I congratulate you on the hard work that you do, and it is thorough and it is complete. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. And the last card I have is from Kimberly Anow.
My name is Kimberly Anow, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. As my 5th installment on Jersey Village, I've been reading the publicly available City Council minutes on the city's website, jerseyvillagetx.com, to learn more about how our village came together as a city in the first years and strengthened over time. Jersey Village is on the site of the former F&M Dairy Ranch that Clark Wilcox Henry ran from 1938 to 1948. In the early 1950s, Clark Henry initiated the transition of the Jersey Cow Dairy Farm into a residential oasis with Leroy Kennedy of N.E. Kennedy and Son Construction Company, along with many others who remained active with the progress over the years, and some even having streets named after them, such as Building Inspector Thomas Patrick Buddy Wall. The city incorporated on April 16, 1956, after Leonard Lee, an attorney, learned that City of Houston would annex Jersey Village the next day, so Lee had a midnight ride going door to door in which all residents signed a petition blocking our village from becoming just another neighborhood of Houston. The first certified city council meeting on June 18, 1956 included Mayor Leonard Lee with 4 councilmen and representatives from Houston Lighting and Power, United Gas, Southwestern Bell, and local newspaper Houston West Side Reporter. Discussions included streetlights, public utility connections, telephone lines, and a post office, along with the progress reports on bonds for the water and sewage plants. Mayor Lee also advised the ordinance acceptance of Title 28 provisions of the revised city statutes of Texas had been filed, leading to corrections of city worker appointments to be properly in line with the state. Updates of the fire department by Chief Wilkie regarding an order of a fire hose so that the fire truck would be in limited operation within 1 week. A motion was passed to purchase a siren and control equipment for the fire department for $50. A donation of a coffee maker to the fire department was also noted. Following meetings discussed the speed limit signs for the highway and a no-cost welcome sign at the Jersey Drive entrance advising the speed limit of 30 and officers on duty 24 hours. The recently appointed 2 deputy marshals, Louis Monick and Harold Henry, were announced. Along with the Marshal Gilbert Youngdoff, they were authorized to purchase red lights, detachable shields, and keep records of minor expenses and gasoline to be reimbursed by the city. In November 1957, the marshals were authorized to purchase a 2-way radio and a 1958 Chevrolet not to exceed $1,800 for patrolling. The City Planning and Zoning Commission appointed and ratified 5 members, which prepared and submitted a comprehensive zoning plan. Later, a public hearing deciding if to adopt the zoning ordinance was held, which passed and was adopted after being published in the local newspaper. At the April 9th, 1957 meeting, several appointments were made and carried, such as for law enforcement marshals, fire chief, fire commissioner, building inspector, city secretary, and park and street commissioner, with these folks working to make our village more organized and stronger for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Those are all the comment cards I have. I will say, if you're interested in more history along those lines, we, not too long ago, the city secretary posted all of the historical minutes for city council meetings going all the way back to the beginning. So brace yourself if you've got several hours to spend just going down rabbit holes of city council meeting minutes and laughing at the very small budgets that they had back then. Trust me, I would spend several hours easily just digging through it just out of interest. So it's well worth a look. That brings us next to our to the city manager's report. Austin, please.
Mayor and councilors, the report's in front of you. If you have any questions, staff is happy to answer.
Any questions for the city manager?
Does it have to be on these reports?
Something connected to it? Oh, okay, all right. I was about to say, it's usually pretty easy to make a connection somewhere, but that's all right. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. That brings us to item F, the consent agenda. Does any member of council wish to pull any item from the consent agenda? If there are none, I would welcome a motion at this time.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda? All of those against? Any abstentions? The consent agenda passes. That brings us to item G, the regular agenda. G1, consider resolution number 2022-05, authorizing the fire chief to apply for a grant through FEMA for staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, and if approved and funded, authorizing the city manager to add 6 new firefighters into the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. Mark Bitts, fire chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This agenda item is to allow me to apply for a SAFER grant through the Assistance to Fire Grant Program through FEMA, which would fund 6 firefighters starting in the budget year 2022 to 2023 and would fund 100% for 3 years. So we're asking for permission to apply for that application. It ends, application period ends February 4th. May would be the start of the FEMA program to start picking applications out for award, and we should hear awards by the end of September.
Great, thank you,
Any
Chief.
questions? I'm here to answer them.
Any questions for Chief Bitts or general discussion on this resolution?
Chief, I'm just looking ahead, assuming we get this grant, and I know we've had a dearth of volunteerism. It's been shaky over the several years, and still want to encourage that of citizens who have the chance. assuming we get this, or even if we don't, in 2025, 26, what do we think that out-of-pocket would be for those firefighters?
Currently, right now, we're looking at around 90 with benefits, probably a 4% inflation or per year for 3 years, right? So maybe around 110, maybe tops, per firefighter.
Thank you.
So that's over $600,000 a year added to the budget. What does that do to us going forward, say 3 years? I know this grant covers 75% over the first 2 years and then 35% on the third year. What happens after that with our budget?
So it'd be about $540,000 per year for the 6 firefighters. After the grant ends, we would be responsible for paying for the full cost of those. But with the fire control prevention district and our sales tax collections currently being higher than normal, by the time we were to get to that point, I feel like we would be able to afford it through the fire control district.
Councilman, I just want to clarify, it is 100% funded, I believe, reading through the program for 3 years. So there will be nothing from the city for the first 3 years.
You're saying it's fully covered over 3 years? That's not what I read in here.
Yeah, Chief, sorry, yeah, I was going to say the Chief, it says 75% for the first and second year, and then the third year, 35%.
Yeah, I think that's an error, Mayor and Council.
Yeah, I think that was the one from last year.
Yeah,
This
it was the one from last year that should have been taken out. It's 100%.
I'm pretty familiar with the grant. The chief's correct.
Okay, so that's an error in the memo. Okay.
And just to go back, my whole reason for asking that, Chief, was I think 3 years gives us, 3.5 years, should we receive the grant, gives us a long enough runway to plan around that future expense. And we all recognize it's a necessary expense, whether we get the grant or not, to some extent. So just wanted to make sure we could start thinking about it now.
What do you think your odds are for allocating the grant?
Well, they haven't been good in the last 3 years, but we'll make some emails and phone calls to some representatives and see if we can get a push forward. I think I'm writing it this time, not to say that it hadn't been written well in the past, but I'm going to be looking at the program's objectives and make sure that each narrative is objective-based and meets what they want. So I'm hopeful.
I appreciate it's already been mentioned that this is something that has to happen, and just for the benefit of everybody here and those watching and in the future, this is a very expensive thing that we have to do. It's about $500,000 to put these firefighters on, but it's not really something we can negotiate. This council packet, the fire department last quarter made 414 calls. What stat is not on here is how many of those calls the chief had to go help with, and I know that he does that. What stat is here is how often the fire marshal's office helps with those calls. And I know some of that is they want to be helpful, but they also have another job that's not responding to calls all the time. They responded to 82 calls last quarter, almost 20% of the responses. That's not their job. Their job's to inspect and investigate. And just so that's a stat that to me says we have a problem and we need more firefighters.
Yeah, I think that the question isn't whether we need more firefighters or not. It's a question of whether through this grant we can accelerate a process that will happen one way or another. Could we go out and just hire 6 new firefighters the next fiscal year? We could, but there would be some cutting to be made to the budget. There's no doubt about that. We don't just have $500,000 or $600,000 in slack to pull from the budget without cutting something. We've already added firefighters here and there in prior years in terms of paid firefighters. And so it's something that we've been moving towards. I think that this grant is good because if we get it, then it enables us to move faster towards where we're already headed. But if we don't get it, then I do think that during our budget sessions, we are going to be talking about adding more firefighters. It's just going to be a question of what are we able to do, and if we need to, what cuts do we make elsewhere in order to make it happen. No one likes to talk about cuts, but sometimes it might need to happen because of priorities. And certainly fire is one of our top priorities right alongside our police department. So we'll find a way to make it happen so that we have appropriate staffing. And if the grant can help us move that along faster, then great. Any further discussion on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I move we approve Resolution 2022-05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution? All those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes. Which in near record time brings us to mayor and council comments. I'm going to go ahead and start on this end with Councilmember Wubenhorst.
Well, I can't help but comment on the achievement we made with the golf course, but it's kind of telling that the golf course, which most people think about as just a recreation area, is now serving the purpose of being a flood mitigation control and also providing not just recreation to golfers, but to all the citizens in this city. And it's just become a much stronger asset than it's ever been before. And that's all I've got.
Councilmember Singleton.
I don't have any comments.
Councilmember Watson.
Yeah. I want to recognize today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And for a while there, I've heard that it's a day of service. And I think all in our community appreciate service, public service, community service, volunteerism, etc. And I didn't know why it was. And in fact, there's a quote that I'm going to take the liberty to say tonight that the Reverend King said, "Everyone can be great because anyone can serve. And you don't have to be have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love." So as we pride ourselves as a community to that involves service, whether it's city generated, like again, or just community impacted, I encourage everyone to find out who and where you can help when you can, and reach out to that effect. It doesn't go unrecognized, right? So I hope everyone enjoys today. Many of us had our day off, and with that in mind, and I want to thank the support I got for the marathon yesterday. I know that there's running groups, and we used to have several 5Ks in the neighborhood. Love to see a few more of those. And of course, there's the Lazy Day .9 that. So, anyway, thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd.
I'd just like to thank Kimberly again for educating us on Jersey Village history. It's always really interesting to hear how the city was formed and how far we've come from 1956. So I do appreciate you coming and educating us.
I also wanted to congratulate Drew on his marathon. It's a bit, 4.5 hours is no small feat. I also was going to say thank you to Kimberly. It's one of my favorite 5 minutes to listen to what you can dig up about our city. It's so interesting and how we got formed and what it has become. And that was it. Thank you.
I just to echo what others have also said, wanted to congratulate Councilmember Wasson on completing the Houston Marathon. I'm pretty sure if I'd gone out there, I'd made a mile or two, and then I would be calling my wife to come pick me up off the side of the road. That's a heck of an achievement. And also wanted to echo the call to service. It's certainly a day that would call to mind the importance of service, but I would also say that if it's been a while since you've volunteered for something, or if there may be some people out there who have never really gone out and done engaged in long-term volunteerism. As someone who's, my wife says that I'm someone who can't really just say no. I wind up volunteering sometimes for too much stuff, which might be why I'm up here. But I've had an opportunity to volunteer with a number of organizations in the past, such as the Boy Scouts of America, through the Houston Rodeo. I'll just say there are about as many different ways to volunteer in completely different ways, some you couldn't even possibly imagine. So if you're wondering, well, there's not really anything out there that interests me or that really, that I feel like I could offer my talents to, keep looking, because you never know what's out there. The other thing I wanted to add to that is, the beauty of volunteerism, once you get into it, is that yes, it is important because you give back to others. What you quickly find out when you find something you're passionate about and you give yourself towards that mission and really get engaged is how much it changes you and how much it benefits you. So if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, give it a shot. I guarantee you, if you find the right place to give of your time, you will sometimes wonder whether or not you're getting more out of it than the other people that you're helping. That may not necessarily be true, but the fact that it feels like it is one of the beautiful things about volunteerism. So with that, thank you all for attending, and we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.